There's two world wars going on in this world right now. Russia and Ukraine and Gaza. When the Russia-Ukrainian war broke out, millions of Ukrainians were welcomed by countries across Europe. Millions of refugees came into Poland, Moldova, Germany. These are people who don't share the same language, religion, faith, but they were welcome. We're way over a year of the Gaza war. Could you please help us understand why the vast majority of Arab countries that surround Gaza have yet to open their door to one woman, one child, to the refugees who share the same language, the same faith, the same God, the same prophet? Where is the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the saving of life?
Because many of them depend on the victim. They need the victim. They need to sacrifice more people. If they end the angry cause, many people will be out of business, like right away. Ayatollah depends on the Palestinian or the Arab suffering, using Palestine as a device to destabilize the region. But behind him, yes, there is Russia. And behind him, yes, there is China. With due respect, these people haven't condemned Hamas since the beginning of the war. Every time they opposed condemning Hamas in the Security Council. Believe or not, at the beginning of the war, I was sitting on the Security Council with the Israeli delegation, just right next to Russia and China, watching what they were doing at the United Nations. It's insanity. They know what Hamas is. And it was not coincidental that October 7 was Putin's birthday. Hamas gave him a birthday gift to distract all the eyes from Ukraine. Okay, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but what a coincidence. So now the thing is, the superpowers have been gambling of children's blood. And we must break the vicious cycle of this violence. The Arab countries, they don't care. They're all corrupt leadership. The Saudi Arabia, people now say Saudi Arabia, even the Arab Emirates. When I saw my Jewish friends going to Dubai, I was like, what are you doing? Don't go there. This is everybody who tells me I go to Dubai or Abu Dhabi, I tell them don't go. Come back. And they think it's just normal. And we saw what happened a few days ago. I'm not saying that this should make us afraid, because we want to build bridges with the Arab world, and I encourage that. But we are surrounded by lots of enemies. These countries, you go freely to Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I cannot go. I cannot go to any Muslim country, to any Arab country. For the past 15 years, I cannot go anywhere. So, they don't want to end the conflict. I was yelling out loud from the beginning of the war. I said, open the border. Let the most vulnerable, children, women, civilians, go through a safe passage into Egypt, into Sinai. If it was up to me, in fact, I would compensate all the Gazans, give them the freedom to take a little bit of money and go and start over somewhere else, far away from there, if they don't want to coexist with Israel, if they don't want to live peacefully, if they want to keep causing trouble. And that goes also for the people of the West Bank. And by the way, some of the Arab communities within Israel, If they don't want to respect Israel's right to exist, then go somewhere else. You know? I'm willing to start a fund to buy their property and overpay them for that. But then I would be accused of ethnic cleansing. The thing is, I don't care, because I am not under the influence of what so-called international law. There is no such thing. This law was meant to serve the powerful. And I don't want the children to continue dying because of the sins and the burden of their forefathers. So yeah, they don't want to take the children. They don't want to solve the situation. You know what's in common between all Hamas leaders, from Haniya to Sinwar and the rest, Zahar, Rantisi, all these people, and Yasser Arafat? All of them were born Egyptians. Sinwar's birth certificate says on it, Egyptian. Haniya, Egyptian. All of them. And in the West Bank, Jordanians. So they don't want to get along. And they were given the opportunity to self-governing, and they failed terribly. Instead of building a society, building a nation, they smuggled weapons. And we saw what happened on October 7, and you and I, we know that Israel cannot afford giving them a state, so they can smuggle more weapons and cause more trouble. This is everything that they can do, trouble and violence. So with that said, there has to be a deal with the Arab world. Egypt, the United States, instead of funding the thugs, Palestinian thugs, billions of dollars, they can rent a much bigger land than Gaza, push the border into Sinai, which basically was the land of Israel, given back to Egypt for peace, no? It was a big mistake.
Big mistake.
So practically, there has to be a solution. And maybe, I don't know, we could be heading to World War III. We could be heading to much bigger war. Hopefully not. But if there is going to be a moment, I don't know. Gaza, this is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for everybody. And by the way, for the next 15 years, it's going to take them only to remove the rubble. Just for your information, it's going to be a disaster. Disease is taken over. Don't think, when I said from the beginning of the war, and I don't know where that I channeled, I said, wait for the wrath of God. See God in action. And God is not just speaking through human weapon. The consequences of October 7 and celebrating what happened in October 7 and the thousands of a fallen society, we saw them on the streets. Today they are paying the price. And of course the international law can come and teach me and say this is collective punishment. Go away. They are dealing with what they have created. I lived among these people half of my life. And I lived among the Jewish people the other half. I understand this culture, I understand that culture. One of them is a death culture. And they need to realize, sooner or later, that Israel is going nowhere, that God is real, and the false narrative is not going to give them any satisfaction. So let's see how this is going to develop. But if it was up to me, at some point, I'm sorry for the long answer, I was so frustrated, I didn't know what to do, and I was appealing to everybody, to the United Nations, to the Egyptian president, telling everybody, open the border. When nobody answered, I put a reward. At that time, it was big money for me. It was $10,000 to any Egyptian from the Rafah side of the border who who take a bulldozer and break the fence. And I promised them, if you do that, I'm gonna pay you $10,000 and get you out to safety. This is just out of frustration that I wanted the most vulnerable civilians to get out. Just go. Go and never come back. It's too much pain, too much suffering. They cannot understand, they cannot coexist, and I don't know how I'm going to fix their mentality.